What is Hanukkah? Is it a Jewish Christmas? What is Hanukkah? Is it biblical? What is Hanukkah? Can it be considered a feast of God? Can it be a moed, a feast or appointed time of God? So for you who have observed Hanukkah, we see a menorah lit for how many days? 8 days. All right. So in homes all over the world, we have a situation where we have a candelabra like this, but with 9 branches, not 7, right? 9 branches. And in the homes, they're lighting how? How many? 1 every day for 8 days. And so they take one and they sing this song, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Okay, some of you know it. All right. And so they're lighting these candles. And so they're lighting these candles. And then the following night comes and you're like, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher kendishishanu b'chut. Okay. And then I get tongue-tied with it, but she got it okay. And then the third night comes and you go like this. Eloheinu melech haolam. And then you're going, and the fourth night comes and the kids go, do we have to get up again? And you try to make it creative, and then the 6th night comes and you're like, I don't know. Can we eat the latkes already? Do we still have any? Some people are like, what's latkes? We're going to get to that. Can we have the donuts? What do they call, Veronica? Can we have the homemade jelly? Can we this? Can we that? By the 7th night, everybody's just waiting for the last candle to be lit. They put the Hanukkah away. They don't want to see it for another year. But today it's going to change for you. Today that's going to change for you. Because I have good news. I have life news for you. I have excellent news for you. I have glorious news for you. For all who have ears to hear, let them hear. So the Hanukkah story has been recounted, and it was at the time of an emperor who came and took the city of Jerusalem, and his name was Antiochus. What does that sound like? Antiochus? Yes, his name was Antiochus, and that's what we call him, Antiochus, but his name was Antiochus. To the Jewish remnant, it's Antiochus. All right, he's supposed to have vision, right? All right, so during the time of the Second Temple, in 165 BC, the Holy Land was ruled by Greeks who had come and destroyed the city of Jerusalem, and they had taken by force. They robbed the Jews of all their property, set up idols in the Beit HaMikdash. What is that? Holy house of God. Okay? No one could stand up against them. They were powerful. Until one little man, I imagine him little. I don't know who he was. He sounded little. Most Jews are less than 6 feet tall. They're about little. And he came up and he says to the city, the people around, they said, Matityahu. Yehuda Matityahu. He said, come out, this man of reputation. And he said, come out, you and your sons. He had lots of sons. And he said, come out and offer an offering unto the Greek gods. For they had placed all over, including in the temple of the Lord, an altar above the altar of God. I want you to picture this. I want you to picture God's perfect house, and somebody goes and builds an altar on top of it. How would that make you feel? So he comes out and he starts watching, and he says, I'm not going to put an offering on that altar. May it never be. And he starts talking about the jealousy of God for them, a people. When he sees one of his fellow countrymen walk before him and offer an offering unto their gods, he takes the sword and he runs and he slays his fellow Israelite. turns around and he slays the captain of the guard. And they run and they said, all who are for the Lord, follow me. So all these people start to move around. This is in the book of Maccabees. You can go find it yourself. It's basically a history of the Jews, a written history. And so all the people began to rally around him, and a whole lot of families, they say about 1,000 people, went up into the hills to hide and to seek God. They cried out with their voices and they said, God, they have profaned your sanctuary. They have destroyed your law books, everything you've given us. And now what? Like Elijah, they seek our lives. Same history, same time, again and again. It happens again and again. Now here's what I want to talk to you about. Everything you've heard about Hanukkah, if you just listen and obey, I ask you, who are you obeying? But I want to give you a revelation tonight. Because this word Hanukkah is throughout your entire Bible. You see it as the word dedicate and dedication. But if you were a Hebrew speaker, every 3 pages you're going to read Chanukah. From Genesis to Revelation. You are not going to be reading dedicate, dedication. You're going to say, and the Lord, Chanukah. And the Lord, Chanukah. And the Lord, Chanukah. Hanukkah. Hanukkah. This word, this marvelous word with so much interpretation, waiting to be discovered, uncovered, and revealed. It's mystery. At this point, they said, this is the day 25 Kislev, which is the 12th coming up. And it was fitting that it should be memorialized, for in it, God gave them strength to take back the temple. In it was the day of dedication. They said, let it be a 7-day period with an 8th-day assembly. Interesting. See, God wanted to dwell in a home like you. He wanted to be with us all the time. So the purpose of his house was that he would have permission to live in it. Are you listening? The purpose of his house is for permission to live in it. It was the obedience of man that caused God to come down. When Adam was in obedience, God was walking in the garden. When Moses was in obedience, Aaron was in obedience, God visited the tabernacle. When Solomon built him a house, he came down. When David moved the tabernacle in Jerusalem, he came down. Think about the times. And it said over and over, and the glory of the Lord filled the house. The glory of the Lord filled the house. Glory in the Hebrew is kavod. K-A-V-O-D, for those that want to transliterate that, who don't know how to write the Hebrew. Kavod. Kavod in the Word of God is honor. When God finds that we honor Him in obedience, something happens. Or happens. Illumination happens. The lights get turned on. How many like to have electricity in their house? How many don't want to pay the bill? I don't want to pay the bill. Yeah, congratulations, move into God's house, you never pay your bill. Because light becomes permanent. In Genesis 1:1, we find that word light. It said all things had become disordered. All things. And the first thing was the Spirit is seen hovering over the waters. All things were all mixed up. He says, and the Spirit waited for the word to speak. See, he waited for the word to speak before he moved For the word of God tells us, he rachefed. Rachefed is not hovered. It doesn't, we see the Spirit like this. That's not what the Spirit did. It said, and the Spirit, the Ruach, was overwhelmed inside at the voice of God. How many of you are overwhelmed with God's voice? How many of you actually know when God actually speaks and can divide that from who you are? Because there's a certain knowing in the bones. This word, rachefed, means that you can feel it in the marrow of your bones. That it shakes. That the marrow inside of you shakes. He says, the Spirit, rachefed, the Spirit was anxious, overwhelmed, and waiting. Oh, I want you to understand it. It's that feeling you get when you know God's glory is about. It's that feeling. It says that when God spoke, he knew that only one could bring into order that which had been profaned. He said only one can bring it to order. It's the light. It's the ore. The glory. The light. He is the first light of sustainment. Yeshua. The other lights, the sun, moon, and stars, cannot sustain. They only challenge each other for temporary glory. And they are made by the Creator, but not this light. You see, this light, this glory belongs to the bosom of the Father. For it says that Yeshua came and proceeded out of the bosom of the Father. That which was in the Father created life. It says, it proceeds out of him, the word says, and in him there is life, John 1:4, and this life is the light of men. Or, there we are again. He says, if you don't have this light, you don't have him. It was from the beginning that he was released to us. When true dedication comes, or what's the word for dedication? When Chanukah comes to the altar of your life, the evidence is illumination. The light gets turned on.